If there's anything Long Beach is known for, it's its beautiful beaches, the bright blue pyramid, and bumper-to-bumper curbside parking. Any Long Beach resident with a car understands the woes of hunting for a parking spot. It's an issue that's plagued the city for decades. But why? Let's take a look at Alamitos Beach. A 2018 survey conducted by the City of Long Beach found that nearly 30% of Alamitos Beach residents spend 30 minutes or more trying to find parking. Christopher Hassler, an Alamitos Beach resident and expert in urban planning, assisted in the study. I sat down with Chris to talk about why finding a parking spot in Long Beach can be such a mission.
You've got some residents that use the street as their own personal storage for cars they collect, and then you've got people saving spaces for guests. Even though they have a garage, they'll bring their car out to the street to save the space for whoever. And then you've got RVs as well that can take up several car lengths. But those are all smaller things in the bigger picture.
But what is the bigger picture? According to Chris, the bigger problem lies in the way the city was built. One thing to note about Alamitos Beach is that roughly 40% of its housing stock was built before Long Beach instituted parking minimums in 1952.
So developers were free to just build as many units as they wanted without having to worry about providing spaces for cars that were sort of a new thing at the time still.
Minimum parking requirements are laws requiring new buildings to include a fixed number of off-street parking spaces based on an assumed demand for parking generated by the building's use. The problem is that by the time these requirements were established, most of the apartment buildings in the area had already been built without leaving room for garages or parking spaces.
In this situation, it was built dense first and then the cars came later. Since there's no place for the cars to go, they clogged the streets.
So how should the city resolve this issue? Chris proposes parking permits and more efficient public transit options.
The cause of the problem is that you've got nothing restricting demand for parking, nothing lowering demand for parking. So if we want to solve this, we gotta focus on solutions that lower parking demand. So something like parking permit system, say that you can only have 2 permits per residence, so someone can't hog more space than we deem to be what's equitable, and that's up for debate. But you need some way of, because it's a shared resource, so that some people are using much more than others, and you need to find some way to balance that. There's also just moving away from cars in general. There's having better public transit so that people can take more trips or see other convenient ways of getting around for whatever trips they need. Broadway just got redesigned with bike lanes, and I think bike lane infrastructure that kind of invites more people to bike.
At the end of last year, the city released the parking study, which had a series of recommendations, such as the ones Chris had just mentioned. However, not much has been done since then.
The city council said, we'll look at this and we'll see what we can do, and that's the last we've heard from them since. And I've had a few meetings with Councilwoman Janine Pierce and her staff. I mean, they would like to make a solution, but they seem to need some help with writing actual policy, because this is something they don't have experience in. I mean, if we want some change, we need to organize a bit and make it clear to the city that this is important for us and something needs to change.
But until city officials decide to implement any of these recommendations, the city's parking issue will continue to be a Long Beach staple. So until then, happy hunting, Long Beach!